Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for The Fin Deadline, originally airing February 13th, 2001, written by Jim Goff and Sean Ryan. The episode opens on Angel being all moody in the empty Hyperion lobby. Meanwhile, Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn are bored and want to kill demons. Luckily, a woman walks in with her daughter, a silent daughter with an eye in the back of her head. Wesley, Cordelia, and Gunn not so bored anymore. Across town, Anne is drowning in orphans. The shelter is packed, and two more kids beg Anne to let them in. She does, and a police officer steps out of the shadows menacingly watching them. The next day, Anne asks them about it, and they tell her that the cop just started beating them out of nowhere. Anne says that she thinks she might know someone who could help. She goes to Gunn, not Angel, and asks for his help. Gunn promises to help her and goes off to investigate while Cordelia and Wesley keep researching their eye thing. As Gunn talks to the kids and realizes they're not lying, Angel stands outside the window like a super creep, spying. A cop comes up to Angel and proceeds to attack him. Angel fights back and seemingly knocks the officer out, but then he gets up immediately. So Angel does the only rational thing and then kicks his head off. Angel goes to Kate and tells her about the cops, and then they find out that they're zombies. They've been dead for months, and someone or something is using their bodies as police brutality puppets. Gunn has a terrible idea to have one of the cops attack him and film it. Wesley and Cordelia realize it's a terrible plan and rush off to stop it. Cordelia goes to Anne while Wesley finds Gunn in the middle of the confrontation with a cop. Wesley then immediately gets shot, and the show acts like it's on an LCD trip. Gunn manages to get an ambulance for Wesley, but the zombie cops get in their path. They have no choice but to drive to Anne's shelter. Meanwhile, Angel and Kate investigate the police precinct. It doesn't take long for them to realize that something is up, and Angel does the Angel interrogation thing. So by that I mean threaten the life of the police captain. The captain flees to his underground secret lair. Meanwhile, Wesley is bleeding out. The police surround Anne's shelter. Everyone rushes to barricade themselves inside while the traps try to break inside. There's only so much that cats can do against crazy unkillable zombie cops with guns, though, and they break inside. Angel goes into the underground lair and discovers how the captain was able to resurrect the zombie cops. Things are getting more desperate across town. In fact, it looks like everyone we know is about to die, so of course Angel smashes the zombie goddess idol and all the zombie cops plop to the ground and immediately decompose. Angel and Kate talk about how bad the rape/murder rate was in the neighborhood before the zombie cop thing, which Kate seems to think justifies the whole zombie cops. I'm not exactly sure. They do seem to have redeveloped some kind of respect for each other. Then Kate sees that Wesley was shot in a report. Wesley is recovering in the hospital and he jokes with Gunn while Angel watches from outside. Cordelia walks up to him and asks Angel what he's doing there. When Angel tells her he heard about Wesley, Cordelia is not moved. She tells him they're fine without him and to stay away. So Angel Charlie Brown walks away out of frame. And that's the end of the episode.
I still don't know how you like this.
Okay. I feel like that's a strong word. Actually, no, it's not. I do like it. I don't really have a problem with it. It is silly that there are zombie cops, but I don't think it's worse than other episodes we've seen.
No, okay. I guess I think we're in like some weird level of degrees, but I seem to have like a lot more problems with this episode than you did.
I think you could break down everything in this and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I think it gets two important things right, which I feel the threat of the police, just the imagery of that, and them focusing on the trio, both of those things work for me, and they're the two most important things. And then okay. I don't like zombies. I have zombie fatigue. I stopped watching The Walking Dead because it got boring to me. I'm going to say something very controversial now, that I found this episode and the zombie cops more threatening than I found the zombies in The Walking Dead for like years.
I would disagree.
Okay,
but
well, part of that is the imagery, and the part of that is, I don't think you can disagree with, do you like Wesley Cordelia Gunn more than you like, I would say, 90% of the cast on The Walking Dead?
Oh, that's not even a question.
Okay, so yeah. That's part of what I'm saying, but I also think they're scarier than the zombies. Well,
part of the imagery that really like stuck, it like hit my nostalgia bone with the T-1000 in Terminator 2. How like disturbing he was, because he kind of.
I think nostalgia bone would be the inappropriate term to use, but well, I guess not. I'm just the real life police brutality. That's a terrifying idea to me, and the symbols of protection and order turning against people and just being unkillable and unstoppable. That is scary.
Yeah, and it's weird to look at this episode now.
Well, yeah. Well, I wouldn't say weird. I think it actually is more effective
right
now, considering recent events, which is not what this podcast is about, so we don't have to talk about it. But just saying.
Some of it worked. Like the shot of when Wesley gets shot, and whenever they stop the ambulance
Wesley
and
getting
down
shot doesn't work for me. The actual moment.
Well, besides the LSD trip,
Wesley, no, weird colors. I'm pretty sure that's a seizure warning when Wesley gets shot.
Right. Well, like how quickly the cop immediately takes out his gun and shoots.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's a disturbing moment.
And then for me, they kind of undermine that by all the weird visual things they do immediately afterwards.
Right.
Which I assume is probably because, I don't know, maybe they looked at it in the editing room and it wasn't clear enough that he got shot. But then it becomes just too much of an overkill.
Wesley, no. Man, they must like burn the film right there.
Well, I'm pretty sure they slow it down and then they invert the lighting for some. I have no idea why it does that. That is the weirdest creative decision ever to me.
The shot of whenever they stop the ambulance and gun down the EMT, I thought was also really effective.
Yes.
The army of cops prying down the shelter, that's when it just kind of got really goofy for me.
Well, I didn't.
When they did the full on zombie like arms through the windows.
Well, yeah, it's still working for me at that point. But what I find kind of amusing about that is when they have the shot of the windows, and they're kind of lackadaisically trying to get in, just like randomly shuffling and kind of just throwing their arms out. But I think inside, when we get the inside shot and they're just coming at them, that worked for me, even if it is them just reaching in and doing the whole zombie thing of grabbing them. Jackson is just an idiot that he opens the door.
Well, you always have to have one in a zombie movie that just opens the door for no reason.
Mm-hmm. Well, we could talk about Jackson, but I would have expected to hate him more than I actually do, but I think he actually serves a real purpose. Is he an amazing actor? No. But I think he seems to have more of a pathology than, say, the police captain, who is just ridiculous.
Right. Like, the police captain has to be a sociopath to...
He doesn't want to betray them, so he's just going to animate their corpses and have them beat up on minorities. That makes sense to me. Okay. And the other question was, I was getting the feeling that all the zombie cops do not come from that precinct, because Kate seems to know them, and she doesn't seem to know anyone at that specific precinct. So I was just thinking he's just stealing random bodies.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that works. Well, I mean, obviously they didn't get her dad, but...
Well, that didn't bother me because her dad is already retired, and I think what he's going for is cops that were... Like, if he had come up to you, I don't think he's necessarily as threatening as someone who actually looks like they might be a cop.
Right. So, yeah, I think it would make sense that he's grabbing it from other precincts, but it could just be that he's just grabbing it from that specific cemetery.
I mean, he's a crazy person, so whatever he can do whatever, and it makes sense to me. Similarly, the Kate can just be acting whatever, and I'm willing to accept it.
No, I can't accept Kate. It's been too far gone. It was really interesting seeing her again, but...
Well, she's back to kind of old Kate mode.
Yeah, I've lost all favor with her, and I didn't think it would be that damaged, but, like, whenever she unconvincingly weeps about her father still being dead and who's doing this, I just kind of rolled my eyes, which sucks.
I'm ambivalent, sort of edging towards kind of liking her. I don't have a real problem with her. She exists, and I don't actively dislike her, which is an improvement.
Right. I mean, the other thing is, at the end of the episode, she's trying to gray the point. Like, what?
That is confusing to me. I do think they managed to do... There's no kind of argument that can, like, justify police brutality to me. But I also think that it's not quite a binary black and white situation, and I think they do a good job with characters like Jackson, and just the way that Gunn and Ann don't both immediately believe the kids that they're being attacked by the police. So I think there's that, and I think that's important. But then when Kate's like, well, there was a murder and rape was so high, so I guess he was all right with doing the zombie cops thing, I think that's what we've given back to this neighborhood. No. That does not justify in any way what just happened, Kate.
And
I'm not sure if Angel just shrugging is about, or Angel. Well, Angel seems to disagree with her.
With that. Yeah, he immediately was like, "I can live with that."
But is that supposed to be Angel, apathetic, depressed Angel, disagreeing with someone just because that's what he's been doing, or is it supposed to be Angel's actually in the right? Well, I think Angel's in the right, but I don't know what the show is trying to tell me.
Exactly. It was a really odd moment and an odd choice for them to have Kate say it. Like,
I mean, it's the only thing that the episode puts forward that justifies the psychotic police captain's decision.
Right.
Which I guess is kind of important.
I mean, but they did enough. If you're going to be drawing on that metaphor, they did enough with Jackson and Gunn's confrontation.
Yes, that was way better than that, because that actually has some nuance as opposed to, well, I guess high murder and rape rates means that we can use DC's police officers as puppets to just beat on people.
And kill people. Because apparently, randomly shoot Wesley. All good things. Damn you, Kate.
But I am so willing to just, when she is in a scene and I don't actively dislike her, I feel better about her as a whole. And then when she does something stupid, I'm like, well, that's just Kate. I mean, I don't know what you want from her.
Yeah, can we get to the good stuff of the episode?
I feel like we've talked about it, the good stuff. I mean,
well,
we haven't really talked about the trio and the fact that this is the first episode they've gotten where they are actually the A-plot.
Right. They're front and center.
And what I like about it, actually, is that it's not just the Wesley show. Mostly because he gets shot and is on the couch for about half of it. But I think Cordelia still has the least to do, but I think she's in the two most important scenes. But I think that all three of them they're equally participating and using their strengths to take care of a specific problem.
Right, and actually having Anne come straight to Gunn makes him feel like a more important role than the other
Gunn
two.
Definitely seems to take a leadership role.
Right.
It's a trio episode, but I think you could also argue it's very much a Gunn episode.
Yeah, and they did a really good job of working with Gunn's backstory, and also having the Anne and Gunn relationship felt very natural in this episode.
Yeah, when she goes to him, it's supposed to be a surprise, but it feels completely natural that these two people know each other and
like
have a history.
Right. They had already done such a good job with Anne in Blood Money of her feeling like she had a history. And I think it just made logical sense since they kind of work in similar circles that they would already know each other.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that the other two, like, the fact that it is a dumb plan from Gunn, like, I'm glad that the writing, that they decided to go with, yes, it is a dumb plan, now let's go stop him.
Well, it's a dumb plan. I'm not going to disagree with it. But at that moment...
It would be a successful plan.
What?
It would have been. It would be a successful plan, minus the fact of them getting shot and everything.
Well, I'm not entirely sure if it would be a successful plan. Because at that moment, Gunn doesn't know that there's actually something mystical going on.
Right.
So it's a reckless and stupid plan, but if it had worked, which they've done reckless and stupid things before and it's managed to work out okay for them, I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm okay with the whole situation. I think it works pretty well. That they recognize that it is stupid and they go to save him, but also that it's not completely out of left field that Gunn would come up with this plan.
Yeah. I did like the moment of Anne questioning, like, well, how do you know you're going to get stopped? And then his little joke about we'll be the ones walking while black. I laughed at that. I thought it was funny.
Well, and I do like that this episode recognizes the racism that can happen. It makes complete sense to me that Gunn is quite aware of Ruchi's brutality because he is a black kid in the inner city. And he is also a thief. He's a petty criminal.
Sure.
But he's also, I mean, the fact that they do talk about racism and it's not so much, they've talked about it before and it's been pretty sloppy, but the fact that they recognize it and talk about it in a real way, because in Gunn's confrontation with Jackson, when Jackson seems to justify everything he's doing is because some people in the world are racist, so he can do whatever. Or he can just shoot cops because some cops are racist. And Gunn says, well, racism exists, but that doesn't mean that you have the right to do what you're doing, and you're just continuing a cycle.
Yeah, and that scene actually did get helped on Rewatch. I mean, it's sad to say that this was 14 years ago, and we're still battling things like this today.
Yes. No, that's completely true.
But so it did add to the moments. Like, everyone has I think more people have clear perspectives in society now of, I mean, just that this exists. You know, for me, I think it was just the silliness towards the end, or some of the silliness of, like, Angel kicking the zombie's head off.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Took me out of the moment.
We can talk about that. We're just going to have to assume that Angel realized that this guy wasn't human, because the implication is that he just kicked somebody's head off. The other thing is, the other thing also is, I don't think he could have kicked his head off if he wasn't a corpse. Because if Angel does a roundhouse kick on a human, I mean, there's a possibility maybe that he would snap his neck, but I think it could also be that he's trying to knock them out. Right.
I mean, I don't know exactly how far his super strength goes.
Well, they're never very clear on how actually strong Angel is, or how strong vampires are in general. Sometimes they're, like, way too powerful, and other times they're, like, just above a human.
So it was strange. I mean, the first time he knocks him down, the Foley guy goes to work, and whenever the cop's head hits the car, it sounds like his neck snaps, and Angel just kind of shrugs and starts walking away, and then, you know, he gets up, and then he kicks his head off.
What do you expect Angel to do? That is the only reasonable option open to him.
It's as logical as the police captain.
Just deciding, there's these bodies around. Let's make them zombies. Use them. Are they using their bodies? No, so I'll take care of my crime problem.
We'll just terrorize the neighborhood. Seems like a grade A plan.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about? Because I think we've covered it.
No, there's one thing, but I will save it for later.
Okay. I expect the same thing we haven't talked about will we talk about later. Okay. So we should mention that we're recording this a few days earlier than we normally do. So I suspect we'll get more feedback on this episode. But we do have at least one on this episode, and then I thought we should take some of, if not all, of Chris Hart's comments.
Okay.
All
right, so first up we have Kanem, and Kanem says, so how did an episode that had so much going against it end up not being as terrible as all that? Let me count the 3 ways. 1, a truly scary threat. There's something truly unsettling about the force we expect to serve and protect the people we're supposed to turn to for help, turning on us with irrational violence. The police uniform is a symbol, and it is jarring to see it used this way. Of course, I'm part of the privileged class, so what do I know? Cops could never behave that way in the real world, could they? 2, characters behaving in realistic ways. Everyone in this episode, except Kenny, acts in plausible ways. From Cordelia's harshness with Angel, to the behavior of Gunn's friends, to Anne's life, I bought it. Even bit parts like Jackson seem to have a life and depth outside of the episode, which is refreshing. 3, Gunn and Wesley bonding. By the end of this episode, I truly believe that Gunn and Wes were good friends. So in all, not too shabby. Wait, what did she just say? Ugh. No. Hang on a second, I have a phone call to make. This may take a minute. So thank you, Kanem.
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
I think it's a reference to Cordelia.
Is it?
Especially the hold on, I have a phone call to make.
Well, I don't.
It's a reference to like early Buffy.
Well, if you're talking about, excuse me, I have to call literally everyone I just met.
Yes, I think it's a reference to that.
But I don't understand what he has a problem with Cordelia. But all right, well, we don't have to talk about. We don't know what that means. I would disagree that Kenny is the kid in the beginning, and I don't think he's not a world-class actor.
No, he's actually pretty bad.
But I don't think there's too much of a problem with him not being reluctant to tell Anne at all that there's a cop chasing them. Because if he tells Anne there's a cop chasing them at the door, she may just not let them in, or she has no idea that there's actually something worse going on. And then later, because Kenny doesn't know that he's evil.
Right. And having, seeing them fear for their life was enough to get them in. I don't like Kenny. I don't think he's a very good actor. And
well, I actually would say that Kenny is a better actor than Jackson, who Jackson's last credit on IMDb was one of the dancers in Chicago in the male. When they're I forget what the song is. The one where the women are talking about how they've killed people. He's one of the male backup dancers. That's his last credit. Okay, well, I think that's telling.
Jackson had better moments than
Jackson
Kenny,
only
specifically when. Well,
Jackson only matters because he's acting off gun.
Right, but even in the moment when he's threatening that one kid in the shelter, when he's saying, I wouldn't kill you here, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it here. I thought that was still way better than Kenny being like, I need my freedom, whatever his little line was.
And I'm not going to say I loved Kenny and I think he should get his own spinoff. But I would just say, I'm saying everyone that is not a recurring character was not the greatest actor in the world.
And even some of the recurring characters like Kate. But seriously, Katem does, bringing up Gunn and Anne and Cordelia, the gang, everyone felt pretty natural. There was a natural feeling to a pretty silly circumstances with zombie cops, but
I mean they took the zombie cops seriously and they made it work, which is not something that I would think would be possible.
Right, and part of it is the way our characters interact with them. Mm-hmm. Because they believe it's scary, it kind of helps sell it. like gun busting into Anne's shelter and saying they're not human very seriously.
Yeah, in the moment when Cordelia, like when Wesley, who I don't know if we talked about yet, but should be dead. No matter.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
But when Cordelia wants to get him back in the ambulance, and she goes outside, and all the cops are there, and she's terrified and closes the door. And Anne, like when they look outside and they see the cops, and you can see the fear on their faces, works just as well as the actual imagery of seeing the police so brutal.
Right. It's just as effective as the scene when they gun down the EMT.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't have anything more to say this before we get to our favorite moments. So I think we can move on to Chris Hart's comments.
Okay.
Which keep flooding in. And eventually she's going to catch up because she's almost there already, but we still got more. So first up, and this is for I've Got You Under My Skin. So she said, serious fashion moment. I know you guys are a season ahead of me in real time, so you might not remember this, but for 2 episodes in a row, Wesley's shirts have been all wrinkled. Does he not own an iron, or are they showing us that he is not himself the clean-cut, uptight watcher? That now he's been fired as a rogue demon hunter / new employee of Angel, that he's all out of sorts? Or is the costume department just lazy? For any other show, I would be doubtful. For Josh's show, I think it's a very subtle way of showing that Wesley isn't the man he once was in Buffy. He's still showing the same signs of personality that he was known for, but there are cracks under the surface, or wrinkles. So thank you for that one. I would say yes, because I haven't... I mean, I think I did kind of notice he being wrinkled in season 1, but I don't notice it now.
See, I didn't notice, but, I mean, that is a nice little...
I think you would be surprised what the costume department puts in thought, too.
It's because that's what they have. That's their job.
Well, yeah, it is. I would not say that it's just in a Joss Whedon show. I think it's any show of a quality. Or just pretty much any show. The costume department thinks about things like that. And it does affect you even if you're not on like a conscious level. Because I think even if we don't remember if Wesley was wrinkled, I think he was certainly out of sorts.
Right. And he wasn't, like, the scene where he redons, like, his old attire with the suit and everything is still very striking because of how he looked before that.
So I believe, I don't think Chris Hart is insane that she's seeing wrinkles where there's not wrinkles.
And I fully believe Wesley would think he would be badass for having wrinkles.
Well, that is another good point. But I think it is definitely intentional.
So next up, Chris Hart said about eternity. No. This makes me so mad. How can we all of a sudden change the mythology of the curse? How? It's ridiculous. This does not work for me. There is no explanation that will make me see this as okay. I understand that they wanted to show the viewers Angelus, but this is not how it's done. The curse is triggered permanently after one moment of happiness, not a feeling of happiness. Are we saying that Angel never had at least one feeling of happiness with Buffy, ever? Come on now. So, not the point. This goes against everything that we know about the curse, not to mention he still has his soul. No matter how bloody happy he is, it doesn't change this fact. The more I think about it, the more it upsets me.
So you were okay with this?
No. I never said I was...
You enjoyed Angelus.
I enjoyed getting Angelus because I enjoy seeing Angelus and it was very threatening. I didn't like how he got there.
Okay. But I'm completely in her camp that I thought it was stupid. But I actually don't feel probably quite as strongly that I think it rewrites the mythology of the curse. But it's dumb. Yeah,
it's dumb. Drug infused
because it's a synthetic happiness, not a real happiness.
So if Angel gets too drunk, then all of a sudden he turns into Angelus, or if he sees a puppy.
I don't think I wouldn't go that far. I think whatever made up drug that they won't say the name of, I think induces euphoria, and for whatever reason that triggers Angelus.
Yeah, but wasn't there a debate of whether the drug was actually supernatural or just a regular drug?
It was a regular drug, though. Raven Rachel, whatever the anorexia actress name was, says it's her happy pill.
Right. No, it is dumb. I remember that still being a problem with me. Like, if it was supernatural in some way, then we might be able to skirt behind this. I don't think... everyone was in agreement that triggering Angelus this way was dumb.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel that it betrays the mythology, though. Like, I don't think they change it.
I think it's enough that
I can understand why she's upset.
I think they change it enough that people will forget about this episode. When they go back and think about Angel, they'll try and not remember the time they turned into Angelus.
This doesn't really add anything to the ongoing story mystery of who Angel is.
Right. The only thing that Eternity did was put the threat of Angelus front and center so that you saw that the gang feared him in some ways.
Sure, but it was still a bad episode.
No, yeah, it was a bad episode.
Okay. All right, so next up we have Shanshu to LA, where she said, I didn't like Kate from the moment she appeared in the start of the series. Here she just confirms that my dislike of her is justified. My memory Kates are unpleasant and possibly my most unlikable character on Angel. So I wanted to clarify something that Derek says about Cordelia's visions and how her screens are too much for getting a migraine. It stated in the episode that they are getting worse and she is feeling within her body all the pain that the victims in her visions feel. So it's not just a migraine. On the subject of Cordelia, I found Charisma's acting in the hospital by far her best performance here or on Buffy. The way her eyes portray all the pain that she's experiencing and the other craziness on her face, I thought was extremely well done. I don't think they needed to spell out to us that Cordelia's experience with the visions changed her. I don't like the line of new Cordelia. No. Let the character progress on its own. Don't shove it down her throat that she has changed. Besides, apart from the start of this episode where I thought she played up her dumbness and lack of awareness, or even empathy, when they find out Shanshu is death for Angel, I thought her character development has been progressing at a nice pace.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the less is more worked better with Cordelia. Mm-hmm. Whenever they were like, we have her sedated, but you could still see the horror in her face or whatever. But whenever she was just full on screaming, I thought it was a little much.
I think she's talking about the less. I think she's talking about specifically in the hospital.
Right. Like when she first gets there in the hospital, it wasn't effective for me, and I thought it was kind of laughable. Or in public, whenever. I
think it worked when she first gets wheeled in and she's like screaming. The in public clutching at her head, less so.
Right.
But I didn't have a problem with it, like dude.
Yeah, and I had a problem with the new Cordelia because it felt like the new Cordelia was just the Cordelia that they'd been developing all season long.
I agree with her that I wasn't as negative as you, but the fact that they have to call her new Cordelia, which doesn't, I feel like that cheapens what they've been doing.
Right, it feels a little lazy, but.
All right.
So next up she talked about judgment and said, Faith. I had totally forgotten this, I have to say. It surprised me how she looked. Her hair is all curly and gone as the dark makeup, in with the natural makeup. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like she is wearing a light pink lip gloss lipstick. I had to do a double take as I didn't realize it was her for a second. Although maybe she can't wear makeup in prison. What a lovely way for the audience to see that Angel and Faith's friendship has lasted, and that even though she is behind bars, he's still there for her, that he hasn't forgotten her, and that he will continue to support her through her redemption.
So, Faith's still in prison, which is what I'm thinking about reading this comment. And she's still around, and we haven't seen her in a while, which I think is interesting.
I kind of have a feeling that dark and brooding Angel probably isn't making his usual visits.
No, I'm guessing not. Because I feel if depressed Angel went to go visit Faith, Faith would have something to say about that.
Right, and I mean, one, I think she might actually be able to reach him.
Well, yeah, I think she'd be able to if he does go visit her, then this storyline is over. Because I have a feeling that Faith would be able to get him out of his funk.
Right. And it just wouldn't go well with the fact that he's cut all of the humans.
Yeah, and you want to go visit her anyway because he's not in that place.
Right.
But I do like her comment about her makeup, which I'm not going to say that they didn't take into mind what kind of prison makeup things would be. I would not that they're stupid or whatever, but I just don't think the show cares about their accuracy of prison and how women would look in prison as opposed to something that's orange is the new black. I just don't think they're doing that research. But I think the fact that she doesn't have the dark makeup on, so I think they took into account her appearance, not necessarily the accuracy of why she would look this way. Because I think the natural makeup is supposed to signify that she has turned a new leaf. Right,
exactly. Which, having Chris pick up on all the visual stuff has been pretty nice.
I definitely remember that, as opposed to Wesley's clothes.
Yeah, I do remember, Faith looking better. Because the previous time before that, you only got her looking extremely run down and kind of gothy.
Faith looked like crap in the crossover in season 1. She looked terrible, which was the point. So I definitely remember that she looks pretty good in prison. All right.
So you ready for a favorite moment and scores?
All right. So favorite moment. We did talk about it before, but now we're just going to talk about it now. I'm going to go first since mine happens chronologically before yours.
Okay.
Is when Anne says that... When Anne realizes that Angel is Gunn's boss, which Angel Investigations is on top of the doorway, so I don't know how perceptive she is. But when she realizes that their former boss was Angel, and she talks about Angel and how everyone is so hungry to get information about him, and they're so hopeful that he might have actually changed. And then she crushes their hopes, but she doesn't bring up the actual important part. The important thing is, and the thing that gets me emotionally, is seeing Cordelia face kind of fall and then just trying to pick herself up again, realizing that Angel hasn't changed. Which is going to tie into your favorite moment, so why don't you just go ahead.
All right. My favorite moment was Cordelia telling Angel at the hospital to just stay gone. Mm-hmm. You got to see kind of the hurt whenever she realizes that he's still on his little vendetta quest. But this is her finally getting to just like let loose some of that emotion. Mm-hmm. And she's completely justified in what she's saying. I thought it was really effective, especially because at the beginning of the episode, we saw Angel kind of moping about the gang not being there. Mm-hmm. And my initial
She's being a real drama queen at the beginning.
Exactly. I was like, come on, Angel. He
just walks in. He walks into the Abbey lobby and just pushes papers off the desk.
So it was nice to have someone tell him off. And it should be Cordelia.
I don't know if I would say it was nice for him to tell. I don't think I felt like any kind of gratification that he was getting told off, because I didn't feel like he was being that much of a jerk in this particular episode. But I think she's completely justified in what she says. And it's sadder to me than thinking that Cordelia is really getting a moment to assert herself.
Right. And I think it's just more of her lashing out with kind of all the pain mm-hmm. that she's going through. And part of it might be that, she might blame him for, like, if he was there, maybe Wesley isn't getting shot.
Oh no, Wesley! I don't think Wesley wouldn't have gotten shot because I think they would have sent Angel out, or they wouldn't be in this dangerous situation.
Right.
They wouldn't be putting their, because she doesn't know that the only, like, when the cops drop dead again, they don't know why that happened. She has no idea that Angel was responsible for that. And I think it might have changed her opinion a little bit but for her, it's just they were in this dangerous situation and Angel didn't help them at all. And now he's found out that Wesley was almost shot, so he hasn't earned for her the right to grieve about that.
Right.
And just the fact that it's been so long since we've seen them together.
Right.
And that there's just something about that. And Angel doesn't really have any kind of response to it, which still fits with his kind of depressed thing going on. Right,
yeah, and there isn't anything he can say.
Yeah, and he doesn't. If he tried to say something, I think that'd be the wrong move. But just also, the fact that he doesn't, I think, probably will confirm to her that he still hasn't changed yet.
Right,
and I think it's further estranged.
Yeah, it added to the moment for me,
mm-hmm.
and just like they shot it really well, like her sneaking up on him,
mm-hmm.
like. I questioned, like, how long was she just standing there behind him?
They really haven't given Cordelia anything new to do besides being Angel's confidant yet.
Right.
But in this episode, she's able to have two big Angel moments. And maybe next episode we'll see that she actually gets to do something now that she's had two moments where she's kind of separated herself from Angel. She'll be able to develop individually outside of him, which I think, Gunn, they were never really at that problem because Gunn and Angel weren't that close, but Wesley definitely has developed outside of Angel's shadow and become this leader.
Yeah, that's true. And I think they have done some nice things with the gang, even though they have spent so little time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even having the moment with Gunn and Wes at the end of the episode. Yeah. Like, we had talked before how Wes was kind of like Angel's kid brother, like how he treated him. But now it really feels more like Wes is like Gunn's kid brother. There's this mutual respect, and there is this friendship there that's blossomed. So there are changes that are happening.
I would have liked to see it. Because in this episode, it's just kind of an accepted fact that they're friendly. I would have liked to see them actually become friends, because now that's the fact of where they are at in their relationship.
Right. Hey, you take a bullet. People tend to like you better.
Well, I think he liked him before that. Wesley, no.
Okay, so scores?
Okay. So I'm going to give this actually a 63 because I think we've talked about before about inherently silly concepts, and they haven't made them work before, but I actually think they do make this work surprisingly well. And there's the police captain is psychotic and one-dimensional, and these supporting actors are not the greatest, if they're not Anne. But I think the thing that gets right is the threat of the zombie cops and just seeing Cordelia, Wesley, and Gunn actually doing something and doing something quite well. And those are the two most important things that I'm willing... Because we could sit here and pick all day about things that don't make sense in this episode.
Right.
But I think those two things work so well that I'm willing to forgive some of the weird, silly other stuff that doesn't.
Yeah, you've actually kind of dragged me up.
Okay.
I had initially hated it. It was, talking about the episode and like having the clear moments with the gang that were memorable, that helped, and even some of the stuff with the zombie cop stuff worked. So I'm going to end up giving this a 60 out of 100.
Okay.
Some of the stuff is silly, but a lot of the character stuff still works.
Yep. Okay.
And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
Or you can go to the Tumblr, which is angelrewatch.tumblr.com, to see all the reviews archived there and the gifts of whatever episode we're watching.
We're available on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at TheComfortador.
And next time, we'll be reviewing Reprise, where one of Wolferman Hart's senior partners is coming to visit, and Angel is determined to take it out.